Welcome to the South West Wales Corporate Joint Committee on Tuesday, the 30th of July 2024. As per usual, just a reminder to everyone that the meeting is recorded and that while we're conducting business, if you could keep your microphones muted. And obviously, if you'd like to come in and speak, raise your virtual hand or your physical hand if your virtual hand isn't working. So we'll move on to declarations of interest. Are there any declarations that anybody needs to make today for today's meeting? I can't see any indication of that. So we'll move to the minutes of the previous meeting, which are on pages 3 to 8 of your agendas. This relates to the meeting held on the 23rd of May 2024. I haven't had any requests for any amendments or changes, but happy to take them if there are any. I'll just pause for a second just to see. If not, I'm happy to move them as a true record. Could I ask for a seconder, please? Thank you very much. All happy to agree? Okay, thank you very much. Those are agreed. We'll move on then to our first substantive item, which is the subcommittee update from Economic Wellbeing and Shared Prosperity Delivery. And I'll welcome Paul Relf to take us through the update report. Paul?
Thank you, Chair, and thank you everybody for the opportunity to update on the work of the subcommittee. Principally, delivery of the Regional Economic Delivery Plan that, as local authorities, we've all signed up to in South West Wales, is principally being delivered through the Vehicle of Shared Prosperity Fund, hence that forming the substantive part of the report, in particular business development, business support activity across the region, and support for communities is flowing through that mechanism. There is a fair amount of background in the report, which I won't go through in huge detail because I think members are already aware of that background. But just a reminder, perhaps, that the delivery mechanism we opted for in the region was to use an anchor project approach, which is enabled where each local authority has its indicative allocation. We have agreed through that anchor approach a link back to core provision in each local authority, particularly where we had originally a small business support resource available, and also similarly in communities and employability, and building on that core area of work using shared prosperity funds to augment that support and create budgets for grant support to businesses, grant support to communities, and various other mechanisms that have enabled quite granular support in respect of the economic delivery plan, with the principal missions of supporting micro businesses, experience of place, and green energy, which has enabled good delivery, modest expansion of teams to enable that delivery of the work of the subcommittee, and effective use. I would say, as a region, creating that economic delivery plan put us in good stead for when Shared Prosperity Fund was announced. It wasn't a negative having that availability of funding, and it made it easier to direct the funding into pressures that we were aware of as the region. The spend figures, we're still working to the original profiles that are quite out of date. So whilst the spend figures may look like they're substantially behind, they're actually proportionate to where we are in the programme. Certainly claim periods, there's often a lag of around a quarter, if not 2 quarters, for claims to come through to us in Swansea, which is just a process issue. The actual spend is at least 1 quarter better than it looks like in the graphs, if not slightly more. But also the delay in approval of the programme means that we're approximately 2 quarters behind anyway, which is in line with the argument we're making generally that we need to extend the programme by at least 2 quarters to maximise the outputs and the delivery of the programme. The delivery is reported at local level extensively, and I'm sure I don't need to go too much into the detail of that in the meeting, but I'm happy to take any questions on that side of things. And there is also a scattering then of outcomes that are being achieved across the region, and particularly on business development. The large number of businesses that are being directly supported and the amount of money that's being committed across the region is actually being felt in by those businesses and creating jobs in flights, which is probably the first time a programme that this has achieved it. I'll probably stop there, Chair, if that's okay, and I'm happy to take any questions or comments.
No, thank you for that, Paul, and just a thank you from me on behalf of the committee for the work you've been doing with the teams. Again, I think really important that we note the fact that we were given information and criteria very late in the day by the previous UK government, which delayed our ability to start the programmes. I think we shouldn't lose sight of that. And as you said, since then, all efforts have gone in to make sure that we deliver what we've promised in terms of getting the projects out the door, getting spend out the door. So that's all good. And you'll know that I've reflected the comments that the committee have made via my WLGA role to UK government to ask them to consider an extended period to allow us to continue the delivery, and we'll continue to press on that. We're hopeful of a positive response from the new government in terms of that, so that we can make sure that we retain the people we need to retain, but also get the money out of the door that we currently hold. So just to reassure on those. Likewise, to Welsh Government, we made the points that under any new arrangements that may come forward from the new UK Government, we want to retain the arrangements regionally and locally to assist with the delivery, because I think it's been a real success in terms of getting money out regionally, much better than I think than the previous arrangements, which were wholly vested with Welsh Government previously. So again, those points are well made, and we'll continue to make them as we move forward. So just a thank you from me, but I'll open it up for any others if they wish to comment. Anybody want to come in? Darren, Councillor Price.
Yeah, just to support you on that point, really, Rob. I think it's generally accepted that the mod that we've had over the past couple of years on SPF is something that we'd all welcome, isn't it? And I appreciate that, given your WLGA role, that lobbying effort has started. I'm just wondering, in terms of timescales, have we had any indication? Have there been any informal? Have you had any informal feedback, in terms of those representations, or is it still very early doors? Accepting fully, of course, that especially at the UK level, they haven't had much time to get their feet into the table. Yeah.
No, thank you, Darren. Look, I mean, I think the interactions between the two governments and the officials seem to have been positive, and certainly we've had a relatively warmer response, I think, from the new government than we'd had previously. So I am hopeful that we'll get what we've asked for, but I can't guarantee that at this point in time. But the signals is certainly a very different tone in terms of what's happening currently than was there before. Okay, if there aren't any further questions or comments, Paul, thank you very much for that. This one is just for noting, so there's no vote needed on this one, but Paul, thank you for that. We'll move then to the corporate plan for 23 to 28 and the corporate priorities for 24-25, pages 21 to 156 of your agendas, and I'll call Will Bramble in, Will, to take us through this.
Thank you, Chair. Members, good afternoon. This is relatively straightforward. I think you've seen a preceding draft. This is really to bring version 2 of the corporate plan to the committee for endorsement. It was subject to consultation in January. The report went to scrutiny on the 16th of July. There've been no significant amendments as a result of scrutiny. I'd probably just highlight the priorities for 2024-25 at Appendix 7, just to draw to members' attention, and then the recommendation is that the committee approve this version of the corporate plan. Over to you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, Will. Yeah, I'm happy to propose this one. I'll look for one of my local authority colleagues to second, if they would. Thank you very much. Just open it up then for any comments or questions that people may have to Will on the report. If not, can't see any hands there. I'm going to go then to the vote. If I again could ask local authority colleagues if they could show if they're in favour of the report, please. Thank you very much. That is agreed. Thank you, colleagues. We'll move then to the next item, which is the Joint Equality, Diversity and Inclusion Strategy, the draft strategy, on pages 157 to 178 of your reports. And again, I'll come back to Will to take us through this.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is a requirement to produce a strategic equality, diversity and inclusion strategy. I've met recently with the Commissioner, Reverend Ruth Coombs, to go through this with her team. The bedrock, of course, is our own respective authorities' strategic equality plans, which we've used to underpin this. It's a draft here, just for noting at the moment, a little bit of further development and again, we'll stay in contact with the Commissioner to make sure they're completely content with the way we've developed this, and then we'll bring it back to ONS at the beginning of September, then back to the committee on the 12th of September for endorsement there. But it's just an update today to show progress, Chair.
Yeah, thank you, Will. And again, building on what we already have in terms of our individual authorities and bodies. So again, very happy with what's before us. Anybody want to have any comments or questions in terms of direction of travel here? Yeah, Aled, I'll come to you.
Yeah, thanks very much, Rob, and thanks for the paper. I think it's really useful. One of the things that I picked up, which I thought was really interesting, was the blending in of the aspirations of Welsh speakers within this draft. I think that is to be welcomed, rather than to have the siloing of the aspirations of Welsh speakers in a different place. I think that's really to be recommended and to be valued. So I really welcome the paper, and thank you for the good work that's been done on it. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Aled. Fully agree with that. I think it's really good to see that core into the document. So we'll note that. This one then, if there aren't any other comments, is just for noting in terms of progress. We don't need to vote on this one, but I'm sure we'll all positively note that then. Thank you, Will. And again, appreciate the work that's gone into it. We'll move on to item 7, the South West Wales Corporate Joint Committee appointment of Chief Executive Officer, pages 179 to 182. And I'll come to Craig on this one.
Thank you very much, Chair. So as members will recall, it was previously been agreed that the role of Chair will rotate between the current Chief Executives of the 4 participating local authorities. Mr. Will Bramble has been the Chief Executive for the previous year, and so the purpose of the report is ask you to designate Wendy Walters as the Chief Executive from the 1st of November 2024. We've chose this date, obviously, to enable and ensure that we can arrange the budget setting process for 25-26, and it seems a convenient date then in which to facilitate that transition. So approval today to designate Wendy as your Chief Executive from the 1st of November onwards.
Okay, thank you very much. The recommendation is on page 181 of your pack. Can I just say, obviously, I think we've made a decision previously around not appointing a separate chief executive, that we'd use the skills and resources that we have within our bodies to do that. Want to place on record my thanks to Will for all his support to me as chair over the last year or so, and obviously especially as Will's had his challenges during that year, and good to see him back firing on all cylinders. But again, just wanted to recognise Will's support and efforts that he's made in his time as the lead chief exec. But the recommendation before us is that now rotates to Wendy Walters, and again worked with Wendy as many of you will have over the years, and is again a really good chief executive. I'm sure will be a great appointment for us for the coming year. So again, very happy to move a recommendation that Wendy Walters be the incoming chief exec. Could I ask for a seconder, please? Thank you very much. And again, could I ask all those to show if you're in favour of the appointment? Okay, thank you very much. Will, thank you all again for the work you did, and congratulations to Wendy on taking up the post again in the near future. Moving forward then, we'll go on to Q1 financial monitoring for 24-25, and this is on pages 183 to 188, and I'll call Chris Moore in to take us through this report.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, as you've said, this is the first quarter of 24-25. As you members will recall, we set the budget earlier on in this year, and we, as part of this budget process, it requires a levy on the individual authorities, which is allocated out on a population basis. So the levy was set at £555,000. We have continued to run on a sort of status quo with development bit by bit through the year, and the indications are, as detailed on Appendix A, that overall we are indicating a year-end surplus of 132,000. That will be carried as part of the balances, which supports the CJC when the CJC expands in terms of some of its services. I think a couple of things to note within the report. at the top of the report, obviously financial services. We are providing those financial services at a lower level than was originally anticipated, and that's fine at the moment, as long as we can cover off our responsibility and provide the right reporting. But it hasn't called on the resource that perhaps we originally anticipated. That may change in the future as the various work streams take off and the workload on those work streams increases. But the other significant sort of variation is around the work streams. At the moment, we've assumed, because it's early part of the year, that the work streams will commit the full expenditure that's been allocated to each of the work streams, which is the economic development planning, transport and energy work streams. And we do have an element of unallocated there that it's up to the Joint Committee to call during the year as and when the work streams actually develop. Difficult thing to judge at this point in time. And I think the other thing that's quite difficult to sort of manage is obviously on the regional transport plan, we've been lucky enough to have some additional funding from Welsh Government, which supports the regional transport plan, quite rightly so, and that has come in as another 100,000 further down. So the transport work stream is obviously delivering a significant amount there through the year. But as I say, it's early days in the year. Things will change significantly over the year, but to project the surplus as opposed to a deficit is a better position to be in at the moment, because it allows for further development of the CJC moving forward. So happy to take any questions if there are any, but hopefully the report is relatively clear overall. Diolch.
Yeah, thank you for that, Chris, and thanks for the work you and your team have done on this one. Again, positive that we are in to surplus position, with the work also being able to be done throughout the year. So yeah, very clear run through for us. Are there any questions or comments for Chris on any items in the report? No, everybody happy? Okay, this is just for noting. So again, thank you for that, Chris. We'll move then to item 9, which is the forecast outturn and pre-audit annual return for 23-24, and that's on pages 189 to 198 of your agendas. And again, Chris, to take us through this.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, this is the annual return. We are obligated under accounting rules and the CJC legislation to produce annual accounts. Due to the size of the turnover of this organisation is below 2.5 million, which actually reduces the requirements around the reporting requirements, and it does not require a full statement of account like some of the other organisations, including the Swansea Bay City deal. So that is helpful because it's more simplistic. And it's down to the turnover of the actual organisation that's actually sort of dictates that. So within the report, you have a summary, which is a similar format to, which is in Appendix A, which is similar format to the quarterly monitoring, which gives you an indication as to where we're falling out. Some similar sort of positions in terms of the overall reporting. Work streams didn't draw much last year because they were developing. In addition to that, there are some other underspends which are quite clear on the report. So we did have a substantial underspend in the year, or surplus, which has actually buffered the balances in terms of rolling forward to the future. So the same argument as the outturn this year. We're getting in a position where we got reasonable provision of a surplus carried forward, which means that as the work streams develop, as the workload develops, we got the provision which will avoid the significant increase in any one year of the levies, because I think it's fair to say that all constituent authorities haven't really got the capacity to increase levies of any significance in any one year. So that gives us a bit of a backstop that actually we can support the development of the CJC without actually increasing the levy. So you've got the you've got the report on Appendix A, which is hopefully familiar to you. What you've then got is you've got the annual return, which is the return that actually requires auditing and verification. There are two elements to this. There is the internal verification that's done by our internal audit team, which is Pembrokeshire. And thanks to Pembrokeshire and Matt that they have successfully turned this over very quickly for us, which allowed us to get it to this committee. So Matt has actually completed that internal review. This will now go on to Audit Wales for them to do an overall verification of the annual return, and they will issue an audit certificate on that. That'll come back to a future meeting. By internal audit actually undertaking this work, it reduces the level of work that external audit needs to do, so that actually helps with the financial costs as well. So the return the return which is in Appendix B is a replication of the figures that are reported in the more familiar report in Appendix A, but it's done in the format of prescribed format that is required under the annual return format, which is standard on any organisation below, public sector organisation below 2.5 million turnover. So I present that for approval today, and with the internal audit confirmation, and that will be submitted to Audit Wales now for their final approval, and then hopefully a certificate will come back to the next joint committee meeting. So again, diolch for that, and hopefully members can approve that.
Again, thank you, Chris, for the comprehensive run through on that one, and again a positive report for us to consider. This one is actually for noting, so we don't need to take a vote on it. But again, you've had the full update from Chris. Happy to pause there if anybody's got any questions or comments on what Chris has taken us through.
Chair, I would seek approval if that's possible on this one.
Okay, no problem. If that's required, I'm more than happy to do that. So I'll formally move. Could I ask for a seconder, please? Thank you very much. And if you can show if you're in favour of the report, please. Thank you very much. There we are, Chris. So that one's also approved. Okay, and then we'll come to our final formal report, which is the Private Sector Advisory Board update on the recruitment of our advisors. This is on page 199 to 256, and I'll call Will back in to give us a run through on this one. Will?
Thank you, Chair. Yep, this is just for information only to update the committee on progress on populating the Private Sector Advisory Board that was previously endorsed by the committee. And you'll recall, and the names are in the report, of those private sector advisors that were initially agreed to come onto the board. The aim is to populate the board up to its full extent of 12, at least to start with. We've sought expressions of interest both from our constituent authorities and then approached those individuals directly, but also by way of advert that is now closed. And we've had a number of expressions of interest. We're going through the long list shortlisting process at the moment, and that I hope will be largely complete next week before bringing forward that shortlist, and then it come to the CJC on the 12th of September for formal endorsement, and then we can start to really utilise the Private Sector Advisory Board going forwards to assist the committee and the subcommittees in accordance with the terms of reference you've previously seen. So it's for noting only today. Chair, back to you.
Okay, thank you, Will, and good to see good progress on that, and we look forward to seeing the final shortlist in due course. And just for everyone's awareness, obviously what we're trying to achieve with the board is to have a full spread of sectorial cover there. So we've got advisors from all of the key sectors to make sure we've got that good spread of advice coming through for members of the board. So again, thank you for the work on that, Will.
I should say, Chair, sorry to interrupt, just to answer your observation there on getting the full spread. Certainly based on the long list expression of interest, I think we have got a good spread across all of those areas of interest, so that's helpful.
Excellent, thank you. Any questions or comments for Will? Darren, yes, Councillor Price.
Yeah, I know it's on Will's radar, but just for noting for other members, really, as a follow-on then to that process, we need to identify a representative from the South West Wales CJC on behalf in terms of the Western Gateway Partnership, in terms of that private sector representation. So it's probably just worth just for noting for other members that then is stage 2 of the process, I suppose, after we've identified the representation for the CJC.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Darren, for that one. Okay, everybody happy with that? We'll note that update. And then finally, it's just the forward work programme. Nothing to add to this one, but again, you all have that in your packs on pages 257 to 260. That one's for noting as well. But again, if anybody's got any question or comment, more than happy to take that now. Again, Councillor Price, Darren.
Yeah, sorry. So obviously we've got the regional transport plan there in its different guises in the autumn. I'm just mindful that the bus franchising process has started in the background as well, so it's linked but separate. And in terms of the time frame that I've seen, as part of that, it includes the CJC as part of that decision making, as well as individual local authorities. To be honest with you, I've got some slight concerns in terms of the time frames that I've seen. I think it's going to be really difficult, I think, for local authorities to get to a position to agree those routes, within the timescales that are set out. But it's something that we need to be mindful of as a CJC, and it's probably worth officers just across the region just looking at that in terms of what it means for their own local authorities and how it ties in then with our regional transport plan, work, because there's a risk, I think, that we put the horse before the cart on this one, because obviously in terms of the regional transport plan, we know that there's lots of data sources that we're utilising to feed into that in terms of designing our future transport system. And I'm just a bit concerned that maybe in terms of the bus franchising, we're not possibly utilising the same data sources there, but that's something for us to think about across the region.
Okay, thanks, Darren. And maybe we can pick that up as well in the transport subgroup and go into a bit more detail with it there. But certainly from my authority's perspective, we'd be keen to explore the opportunity of a franchise when the new bus bill does come into play. And obviously, whatever we can do to put ourselves in a strong position to do that would be welcomed. So yeah, absolutely, I will take an action to do that. Will, if you could take that action for now and make sure that we have the workshop or session programmed so that we can get, I think, first of all, the members are getting assurance from officers in terms of where we are and what we potentially need to do to make sure that we meet the deadlines that will be set down. Okay, so that's noted. Finally then, urgent items. I haven't been notified of any. Last chance for anybody if they do want to raise anything. I don't see any. So other than that, it's DL from me. Thank you very much for joining. Good to see you all again. And I declare the meeting closed. Take care.